Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. We begin with the Trump transition and another cabinet pick that is raising eyebrows. The president-elect named Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as his pick for Health and Human Services Secretary. If confirmed, despite the fact he has no medical or scientific experience, RFK Jr. would be responsible for several agencies. That includes the Centers for Disease Control and the Food and Drug Administration. Kennedy has previously pushed false and misleading claims about vaccines. He supported Mr. Trump after dropping his own presidential bid earlier this year, including a run for the Democratic nomination. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard has the latest.
After teasing a potential administration role for weeks,
RFK Jr., he's going to help us on health and the health of women, men, and children, and he is so good.
President-elect Trump selecting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be his next Secretary of Health and Human Services, writing, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. Kennedy is a former Democratic and independent presidential candidate who dropped out and endorsed Trump.
You want an America president who's going to make our country healthy again.
But he's faced criticism because of his history of vaccine skepticism, publicly espousing discredited assertions that vaccines cause autism. Vice President Harris slammed Trump for praising him.
He has indicated that the person who would be in charge of health care for the American people is someone who has routinely promoted junk science and crazy conspiracy theories.
Kennedy telling us last week that he would not block any vaccines.
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccines. I've never been anti-vaccine.
You will not take any vaccine that is currently on the market.
I'm not. If vaccines are working for somebody, I'm not going to take them away.
During the campaign, Kennedy also made headlines when he said that 15 years ago, doctors told him he had a parasitic worm in his brain that died. Kennedy is a critic of U.S. healthcare policy who's advocated for big changes to food and drug regulation, writing last month, the FDA's war on public health is about to end, telling us he would eliminate parts of the FDA.
The nutrition departments at FDA that have to go, that are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids.
That was Vaughn Hilliard reporting. Kennedy did put out a statement last night on X saying the country has a, quote, generational opportunity to put an end to the chronic disease epidemic. For more on the Trump transition, we're joined now by NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa. Ali, good morning. So let's begin there with RFK Jr. being named as the president-elect's choice for Health and Human Services Secretary. What is some of the reaction to this announcement?
Yeah, Joe, well, it can't be underscored enough how important this role would be if Kennedy is confirmed. As you heard Vaughn mention, with 13 health agencies under his purview, if he is confirmed. And because of those controversial past comments that he has made, those comments and positions, there was a mixed bag of reactions to this announcement of his nomination by the president-elect. You had Republicans on Capitol Hill praising this decision to nominate him, but still not saying how exactly they would vote during his confirmation process, senators specifically, and across the aisle, the reaction was much less optimistic. Obviously, Democrats immediately condemning this decision, calling it, quote, dangerous and disturbing. And we also saw reaction from within the FDA, with many of those staffers worried about the future of their jobs after Kennedy had promised a major shakeup with staffing at the FDA. So a lot of reaction still coming into this decision, Joe.
Yeah, and some of those officials might even leave the agency. They're that concerned. All right, let's talk about some of the other picks. Earlier in the week, Mr. Trump named Matt Gaetz as his pick for Attorney General. We understand the Senate GOP is looking to thoroughly vet the now former Florida congressman. There are these questions also about whether the House Ethics Committee investigation into Gaetz is ever going to see the light of day. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, well, we saw now, as you mentioned, former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz resign his position yesterday. And in the process, this House ethics probe has been halted, a probe into allegations of inappropriate sexual conduct, illicit drug use, as well as inappropriately accepting gifts. And by the way, that is separate from a since closed federal probe into Gaetz that he has denied all allegations of, and no charges were filed. But now there are concerns by these senators that are going to be in charge of his confirmation process, whether those documents and those records involved in the House ethics probes will be made available to them to better prepare them for this confirmation process. Some of them openly calling for those documents to be shared with them. It seems that that could happen since there's a precedent here. There have been documents involved in past lawmakers who've been involved in these probes who have had documents shared as far as their confirmation hearings. But at this point, no formal announcement has been made for that decision.
All right, Allie, another announcement made by the president-elect naming his own criminal defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, to be the deputy attorney general. Of course, he represented Mr. Trump in the hush money trial here in New York, where Mr. Trump was convicted on all 34 counts against him. Why was he named to be number 2 in the Justice Department?
Yeah, well, we heard the president-elect talk a little bit about his decision-making process in this statement announcing this pick of Todd Blanche. He said in this statement, quote, "Todd is an excellent attorney who will be a crucial leader in the Justice Department, fixing what has been a broken system of justice for far too long." And of course, this is following this pattern of the president-elect picking these loyalists to him for these cabinet positions, but especially in these positions within the Department of Justice. And there are also some who are thinking that this pick could be sort of a safety net for a case in which maybe Matt Gaetz is not confirmed by the Senate, in which Todd Blanche would then succeed him as Attorney General, Joe.
And that's going to be all, Allie. So much to cover. We appreciate you running through it for us. Thank you so much. President-elect Trump's cabinet picks are sending shockwaves across Washington, especially among lawmakers in his own party. As they prepare to vet Mr. Trump's choice for Attorney General, some Senate Republicans are calling for the House Ethics Committee to release details of that now abandoned investigation into Matt Gaetz. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles explains.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. There is certainly a degree of skepticism around the appointment of several of President-elect Trump's cabinet picks, but most especially his pick for Attorney General Matt Gaetz. And there are many senators who are going to be voting on his confirmation that would like to see the information that's contained in a House ethics report from an investigation that's been going on for quite some time in the House of Representatives. But there's no guarantee that information will ever emerge. The House Ethics Committee was set to meet on Friday. The agenda contained a conversation about what to do about this report, but we're told that meeting has been canceled. And if the House Ethics Committee doesn't meet and make a decision, there is the real possibility that this ethics report never sees the light of day. Now, part of the problem here is that Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress. That means the House Ethics Committee no longer has jurisdiction over him. He is a private citizen. So as a result, they may not have the power to release this report. Now, there is precedent. It has been done before where ethics committee reports have been released after a member has left office. But this is a toxic situation. It could be difficult for House Republicans to buck President-elect Trump and release a report that could be damaging to one of his most important cabinet picks. Regardless, many of the senators that we talked to yesterday were confident that even if they don't get the report itself, they'll get the evidence and the information that was contained in that report through their own investigation, through an FBI background check, and perhaps even getting the information from the House itself. Regardless, this is going to be a difficult slog for Matt Gaetz. This is a priority for President-elect Trump. And even though there are a number of skeptical Senate Republicans, not one has said that they will vote against his confirmation. So at this point, the transition is moving forward with the potential of Matt Gaetz as the next Attorney General. And that's just one of a number of controversial picks by President-elect Trump. Joe?
Ryan, thank you. As political observers continue to unpack last week's election results, so is NBC's Steve Kornacki. Way back in December of last year, NBC News named 7 counties in battleground states with the potential to have a major impact on this past election. In 2020, some of them went for President Biden, some for President-elect Trump. Well, now that the polls are closed this morning, we're taking a look at how it all played out. In all 7 of the decider counties, Mr. Trump gained ground en route to his national victory. Steve's at the big board with a look at how it all played out.
When the campaign started, we introduced you to these 7 counties. We called them the deciders. These are counties with some specific demographic traits, characteristics, regional characteristics. And we said we're going to be important to deciding how the election turned out nationally. So everything is over right now. Let's check back in and see what did the decider counties tell us. How did they help decide this election? So let's start just here, Erie County, Pennsylvania. We told you this was the ultimate swing county, a bellwether. See, in northwest Pennsylvania there, 2016, Erie went for Donald Trump. Donald Trump won Pennsylvania. 2020, Erie flipped to Joe Biden. Pennsylvania flipped to Joe Biden. I think you see where this one is going. In 2024, Erie back in Donald Trump's column. Pennsylvania back in Donald Trump's column. Also, a couple other bellwethers we identified in Arizona. There's Maricopa County. That's the motherlode. More than 60% of all the votes in the state of Arizona just coming from Maricopa. It's Phoenix. It's the massive, sprawling Phoenix suburbs. And 4 years ago, when Joe Biden had won Arizona, he won it by about this much. He became the first Democrat in 72 years to carry Maricopa. This time around, it flips back to Trump. Arizona flips back to Trump. We also said Washoe County in Nevada. This is where Reno is. We said this identified as a bellwether, too. There's two big population centers in Nevada. The major one is here, Las Vegas, Clark County. But Washoe County is the other biggie. Again, Reno in that area. And it's typically been the more swingy of these counties. The interesting thing that happened in Washoe is Trump made a pretty big jump here, but he didn't quite win it. So Trump's actually going to lose Washoe County, and he's actually going to lose Clark County. That's expected. The Democrats usually win there. But he kept the margin low enough in Washoe that just massive, massive support in those small rural counties between those two big cities carries Trump in Nevada. Also, take a look here in Michigan. This is Kent County. What's there? The city of Grand Rapids, kind of the anchor of that region of western Michigan. We said to watch that because it's a traditionally Republican area, but the Republican voters there hadn't really taken well to Trump. He'd underperformed as a Republican. Was that going to get worse for him? Well, it didn't get much better, but it didn't get worse. That's the headline from Kent County. Trump did actually a point better there. And again, he flipped Michigan. The fact that he didn't lose more ground and actually gained back just a little bit there, it amounted to a very big win for him. Now, let's go a closer look here at the other three that are left on the board. You see Miami-Dade, Gwinnett in Georgia, and then Dane County in Wisconsin. I just want to show you what happened. And I'm going to zoom out of Michigan for a second and going to go down to Florida and show you Miami-Dade. Remember, not that long ago, we were talking about Florida as a swing state. It wasn't this time around. Trump ends up winning Florida by double digits. Look what's happened. This is a big reason why. There's almost 3 million people in Miami-Dade County. It's a 70% Hispanic county. Look, in 2016, Clinton won this. Hillary did by almost 30 points over Trump. He brought it all the way down, Trump did, to a 7-point gap in 2020. And now a double-digit win for Trump in Miami-Dade County. That's a shift of more than 40 points since Donald Trump came on the scene in his direction. Big reason Florida's off the map now when we talk about swing states. Also, we said, take a look here in Georgia. Let me go north to Georgia. The big Atlanta suburbs here. Gwinnett County was our decider county. Harris did win here. She won here comfortably. Let me just show you, though, compared to Biden 4 years ago, and really turn back the clock here compared to Clinton in 2016. This thing has been trending Democratic. More than 1 million people in Gwinnett County. Look, from Clinton by 6, Biden tripled that to 18 points. It actually came down a tick. Why did it come down a tick? Trump's support with Hispanic voters. When you look at the heavily Hispanic precincts in Gwinnett County, and there's a large Hispanic population there, largest of anywhere in the Atlanta metro area, Trump actually posted some real improvements there. It actually kept him from losing more ground in Gwinnett, actually gaining ground there. Very important to him carrying Georgia. And then we'll land in Wisconsin. Again, another state Trump carried very narrowly here. You see under 30,000 votes. Dane County, huge Democratic county, University of Wisconsin, the state capital, Madison. Why did we identify this? Because what's been happening in Wisconsin, we've been seeing nationally, the Democrat support has been geographically contracting. They're losing ground all over the country in blue-collar, rural areas. It makes it more and more important for them to run up the score in places like Dane County. Big, population dense, high concentration of college degrees. So Harris did win here overwhelmingly. Her margin, 188,000 votes. And this is the key. That was an improvement from 4 years ago. The margin then, you could see Biden over Trump for Democrats was about 181,000. But given all of the losses Democrats continue to suffer throughout the vast majority of Wisconsin geographically, those blue-collar areas, she needed to run this number up much higher to offset that. So the story in Dane was, yeah, overwhelmingly Democratic. We were asking, was it going to be overwhelmingly Democratic enough for them? And the answer, no.
All right, Steve, thank you so much. More red flag warnings and fire watches have been issued for the Northeast as we head into the weekend. For more on that, let's get a look at your morning news now weather with Angie Lassman. Angie, good morning.
Hi, Joe. Good morning to you. Same old song and dance when it comes to all the ingredients there that concern us for fires to start and fires to spread quickly across the Northeast. We did see the winds weaken a little bit yesterday, but they are right back up to being gusty here through this region today. We've got 42 million people under these fire alerts. Where you see that orange, those are elevated fire risks that are in effect, and where the brighter pink is, that's the more concerning red flag warning that is going to be in effect. Now, we still got the dry conditions as far as the vegetation and such goes with that ongoing drought, but we've also got dry air in place, and this means that our relative humidity values, so the measure of moisture in the atmosphere, is quite low. We're talking 10% across areas like Boston and Hartford. We don't have that much moisture to tap into in the air, and that's going to be something that stays with us at least through tomorrow. On top of that, as I mentioned, those winds have come up slightly. So northwesterly winds, that's partially why our air is so dry, ushering in that those cooler, drier conditions, plus winds coming to about 23, 25, up to 30 miles per hour across this area. So again, not hard for those fires to start and then spread. This will last through at least the weekend. Switching gears, talking tropics. We've got Tropical Storm Sarah, winds at 50 miles per hour. So they've come up a touch, sitting just to the east of Honduras. So this is going to be where we kind of see this system hang out, hugging the coastline at least for the next day or so. It'll spend a little time over those Caribbean waters, and then it makes its way onshore for the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, that interaction with land, that's going to be important because we'll expect this system to likely dissipate by the time we get into early next week. We'll still keep a close eye on it, and it still is going to dump heavy rain, cause problems for landslides and mudslides for folks across Central America, so it will be impactful for them. Meanwhile, out west, more rain, more snow. That's where all the rain and snow has been, across the Sierra Mountains and the Great Basin. That's where we'll pick up some additional amounts here through the day today, and then we really ramp things up with our next storm system that arrives tomorrow. This is going to bring, again, heavy rain and heavy snow for folks there. Big picture look for your Saturday, great through the midsection of the country, still dealing with the fire risks, so don't forget about that. But as we look ahead to Sunday, those nice conditions stay with us for most of the country, especially the eastern half, but we will watch a couple of chances for some severe storms across Texas and parts of the southern plains, and those stormy conditions to last out west.
I will take mild fall highs.
Me too. Get out there. There's going to be plenty of sunshine. It'll be nice to enjoy it there.
Very cool. Thank you, Angie. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.